Renee and I are back on Monday. See you later.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Hey everybody, it's Game Time Decisions here across the SportsGrid Network, and for the 90 minutes that are in front of us, we are going to talk all things NFL, college football, Major League Baseball, obviously the Ryder Cup. Not a great showing on day one for the Americans, to put it very, very lightly. Brady Cannon will be along a little while later to help us break that down and expectations for days 2 and 3. Are the Americans on their own soil at Bethpage in New York going to actually put up a fight in this tournament, or the Europeans going to absolutely destroy? Here's hoping not, but yeah, ugly, as you can see some of the 45th leaderboard there in front of you on the screen. Ugly, ugly showing on day one so far for the Americans. We'll get into it a little bit later on. We will also talk through, like I said, some Major League Baseball that we have in front of us, college football tonight, NFL for the weekend, which kicked off week 4 last night in Arizona, and, well, Seattle made it interesting there by the end. If you took the Seahawks, whether it be on the money line or whether -1.5, -1, -2.5, the line sort of bopped around a little bit. Either way, you covered, because Seattle escaped with a victory, held off the Cardinals in the desert 23-20, very nearly needed overtime. It was a game-winning field goal by Jason Myers, a 52-yarder, as time expired. You could argue, well, a couple of things. For one, maybe Myers should not have been in as good a position to kick that, what is nowadays chip shot field goal from 50-plus, because Ryland, he's the Arizona kicker. Ryland, you out there? You listening to me? You got to hit the landing zone, dude. Got to get it in the landing area. These penalties, these kicker penalties and block kicks, missed kicks, everything defining an early part of this NFL season. Seattle gave up a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter of this game, though. So, again, maybe Myers, maybe Ryland, maybe these guys shouldn't have been in this situation to begin with. The defense, which was very good for Seattle overall, just could not hold late there in the latter half of the fourth quarter. Credit Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, that entire Cardinals offense, Trey Benson, we see you, for guiding that comeback in the first place. Again, nearly forcing OT, but the Seahawks were better when they had to be, which was largely throughout, and then especially there in the end when they only had about 33 seconds to move the ball upfield. That 20-yard penalty absolutely helped, which again, Ryland, you got to be better next time, but young guy mistakes, obviously. But Sam Darnold has his Seahawks now at 3-1, 242 yards passing, 18 of 26, pretty efficient, as you see there on the screen. 1 touchdown, no picks. Kenneth Walker, some wondered, including me, what's this backfield going to look like if Kenneth Walker is once again in this timeshare with Zach Charbonnet? There were questions as to whether Charbonnet was even going to play in this game. He was questionable. He does. And honestly, both were impactful. Walker, 19 carries, 81 rushing yards, also had a 29-yard reception, so goes over the century mark for total yardage. And Charbonnet, not as many rushing yards, not as many carries, 12 for 39. However, he did find the end zone, which Walker did not. So again, Charbonnet helpful there in the offense for Seattle. Jackson Smith and Jigba, it was just perplexing. I would like to talk to the play caller for the Seattle Seahawks, if I may. I need to know, JSN just a jet sweep guy now? He's a running back at this point in time. He didn't have a single target in the opening half of this game. Not one. Not till partway, almost midway through the third quarter, did Jackson Smith and Jigba, who has been electric here early on in this NFL season, base yardage each of the first 3 games right around 95. Not a single target. I mean, credit, I guess, the Cardinals defense to some degree, but also figure it out. Design plays. Get the ball at least in the vicinity of his hands if you can. Anyway, he came on late, including a big catch to help set up that game-winning field goal for Jason Myers. And in the end, it was a JSN kind of night. He was targeted 5 times, much of that in the fourth quarter. 4 catches, 79 yards. Didn't score a touchdown, but he was efficient. On the other side for Kyler Murray, 200 passing yards. He had a couple of touchdowns, also a couple of interceptions. He was the team's leading rusher as well. So if that's what it's going to look like with no James Conner, that's a little bit alarming. But he went 41 rushing yards. And Marvin Harrison Jr., as mentioned, goes 6 for 66 and a touchdown. Slow start for him. Very unproductive early on in the contest. Only caught one of the first, I think, 5 balls that were thrown his way before finally able to start to get into a little bit of a rhythm. And these two guys, Arizona, obviously, if the team has any hope of making a playoff push, and at 1-3, it's an uphill battle to begin with. But Murray, Harrison, these guys got to get on the same page. We've been talking about this for a year plus now. They need to find a way to get on the same page, and Harrison, obviously, needs to find a way to avoid the drops. Trey McBride just continues to be Trey McBride. He goes 7 catches, 52 yards. This is now 8 straight wins over Arizona for Seattle. And as we take a little peek at the NFC West standings and just what this all means at this point in time after the Seattle win to kick off Week 4, San Francisco is 3-0, and Brock Purdy is expected back in the lineup this weekend. Mac Jones, good job. You go 2-0, got a little banged up in the process, but Purdy will return. Seattle is 3-1. Then you have the Rams, 3.5-point favorites this weekend, sitting at 2-1. Of course, Arizona at 2-2. Is the season over? I said 1-3 before. I meant 2-2. Is the season over for Arizona? Certainly it is not. Teams will face injuries, adversity, make runs, go on slumps, all of these things. But that was a game last night that the Cardinals, very slight dogs. A lot of people were on Arizona. I think more were on Seattle and proved to be on the right side of it. But there were a lot of people that believed, hey, home opportunity for an upset here, ever so slight upset again, did not end up happening. And now Arizona, more to the point, is 0-2 in division play, which is obviously not what you are looking for if you're a Cardinals fan. Major League Baseball playoffs. So one game earlier today, and it was a laugher. Easy win for the Chicago Cubs in a game that was generally meaningless at this stage. That was a 12-1 final at home against the Cardinals. But we have some very, very important games to get into across Major League Baseball in these division races and wild card races. Danny Berg from Betting News is going to join us coming up in a little bit to help us preview what we have in store tonight. But listen to this. The Guardians and the Tigers tied now with 3 games to go. Final series of the regular season at 86-73 atop the AL Central. The Tigers woeful lately. They have lost 8 of 10. The Guardians have won 8 of 10. Both of these teams have been even hotter and colder than those last 10 numbers would indicate. And the Guardians tonight in action hosting a Rangers team that has dropped 9 of 10, whereas the Tigers facing a Red Sox squad at Fenway, mind you, in Boston, that is also in need of a victory. Magic number of 1 to clinch a playoff spot. Either any combination of a Red Sox win or Astros loss will secure that for the Red Sox. But Red Sox and Detroit, two teams very much needing a victory tonight. Boston right now is the second wildcard team in the American League, with the Detroit Tigers 1 game back, Houston another game back of that. Also, of course, in the American League, in the East specifically, Red Sox have fallen out of the hunt as far as winning the division, but Toronto and New York, they are even at 91 and 68. So all eyes on those two tonight as well. The Yankees hosting the Orioles, looking for a 6th straight win. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays in action at home in Toronto against the Rays. And over in the National League, just want to make mention of that as well. You have no division races at this point, but you do have a pretty important wild card race. Chicago and San Diego, they've taken care of business, but the Mets, the Reds, the Diamondbacks all fighting for one spot. We're going to get into it. Danny Burke is going to join us when we come on back.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
You're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last
But they
year?
had marquee wins at some point
I don't
last
care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scottaboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Adam Kaufman here with you. Game Time Decisions. We got you for a little while till 8 o'clock Eastern. And in that time, we're going to have quite a few games get underway on the Major League Baseball diamond. Final 3-game sets of the regular season. Lots of teams playing for nothing, but there are quite a few, as we outlined in the opening segment, that have a lot at stake. Whether it's trying to win the American League East, the American League Central, clinch a wild card berth in the AL, or certainly in the NL. And here to help us preview what we have in front of us tonight, a difficult slate to bet, unless you want to really lean into desperate teams, and even then it gets a little confusing. Danny Burke joins us on Twitter at Danny Burke and the number 5. He is part of the Betting News Network. Danny, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Adam. Happy to be here. And yeah, what a time, man. I mean, we got the, thick of the postseason race in Major League Baseball literally coming down to this weekend. Great college football action tomorrow. NFL, as always, gets us pumped. And the Ryder Cup, even though it wasn't the best performance for Team USA, hey, still a lot of excitement this weekend in the sports betting world.
Very nearly the worst performance, actually. But we'll talk golf later on with our friend Brady Cannon. Let's begin at Fenway, where a game is starting in about 25 minutes between my Red Sox, who, of course, have a magic number of 1 right now, trying to clinch that second wild card spot, or at least a wild card spot. Meanwhile, the Detroit Tigers, who have blown a double-digit lead atop the AL Central here this month alone, and now are in danger of not even making the playoffs. They enter the night even with the Guardians atop the Central, and a game back behind Boston in the wild card race. So in position at the moment, the third wild card spot. This is a tough one, man. Red Sox slight favorites, right around -125. It's Harrison, who they acquired, obviously, in the Rafael Devers trade earlier in the year from San Francisco. Mize on the other side, who's been very good this year. Where do we go?
Yeah, this game in terms of picking a side, I mean, good luck if you can do so. I think the Red Sox are the rightful favorite here, and a lot of that has to almost do with some of these intangibles, right? Kind of thinking about the mentality of this Detroit team, blowing what seemed like a remarkable lead to overcome for any team in that division. It was just unprecedented and just insane that it came to fruition. And now you're Detroit. Not only do you have that looming over your head this final weekend heading into the postseason, but you just have the pressure of, are we not going to be hot coming into the playoffs? Are we not as good as we thought we were? Like, there's just so much pressure and a dark cloud over this team's head that it's already amassing over this roster, and it's not going to be good for them in the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to be good for them throughout this weekend. Now, again, that doesn't mean I have all the confidence in the world with Boston, because certainly they have a lot of pressure as well, but I would look toward the under, and there was still a lone 9 available with some shade to the under at about -115. So you're laying a little bit more juice, but I think that would be the approach I'd take for this game, Adam, because as you alluded to, Casey Mize has been a very serviceable pitcher this year. 3.91 ERAs. xFIP's not great, but certainly not too worrisome at about 4.04. And then you look at Harrison on the other side, certainly more of the utility guys, only had a handful of starts with the Red Sox, but 3.58 ERA throughout 5 starts, 3.98 on his xFIP. Not too bad. And I just think overall this series is going to be treated like a premature playoff series, thus playing everybody, a bit more tightly. Those nerves are ramping up. So I think it's going to be lower scoring here, and I would go under 9.
As mentioned, Tigers tied atop the AL Central, the team they are tied with, the Guardians, who have been scorching hot this month, and they have won 8 of their last 10 as well. And they have their final series, a very important one, at home in Cleveland, which is obviously nice. That's what you want to have in front of you if you're in that position. Playing host to the Texas Rangers, who have really slumped. Losses in 9 of 10. Rangers, they're not playing for anything but trying to be spoilers here. Cleveland is a heavy favorite, right around -160, as you see on the screen. Slade Ciccone on the mound for the Guardians. Leiter is on the other side, who's had an up and down year. Do you just keep leaning into Cleveland?
As much as I'd like to, I'm just not the biggest Slade Ciccone guy. A lot of his numbers are a bit worrisome. And look, it's a unique situation here because of what's at stake for them and where there is nothing going for the Rangers. Are they going to play inspired to kind of try to screw over Cleveland to some degree, or do you kind of just bend the knee and say, who cares? We're ready for vacation. That's what's hard to justify in this spot. But Leiter on the other side, he is not a trustworthy pitcher by any stretch of the imagination. So I'd probably look a little bit more toward the total in this one as well, and perhaps gravitate toward the over. Certainly not one that I'm feeling that strong about compared to some of these other spots. But again, it's going to be fun to watch nevertheless. But this one I would have the least amount of confidence in, like the 3 important series or 3 to 4 important series that we have for this evening, Adam.
So staying in the American League, we talked about the Red Sox, obviously, but atop the AL East, the Red Sox, unfortunately, with a little slump over the last week and a half, fell out of contention to win the division. But you do have the Blue Jays and the Yankees. The Blue Jays, who are slumping a little bit, the Yankees, who have heated up of late, again, going for their 6th straight win tonight. Each of these teams sitting at 91 and 68. And you could look at it and say, what's the big deal? They both clinch playoff spots. Well, it matters. You want to host a wild card series, or do you just want a first round bye and not have to deal with a potential early elimination? So these two teams absolutely gunning for a division title. Let's start in the Bronx, where the Yankees have the Orioles in town. New York, again, heavy favorite here, right around minus 145, minus 150. Will Warren faces Trevor Rogers. I've seen a lot of people in the space going for the Orioles at plus money, in part because the Yankees just clinched their playoff berth, and so, I don't know, maybe a little hangover celebration hangover, that type of thing, or maybe it's just the pitching matchup with Rogers absolutely being more consistent and better so far than Warren. But where do you go here?
Yeah, certainly a combination of those two things. And I tend to agree. I haven't bet it per se, but my strong lean would be with Baltimore at that plus money price. Now, Warren is certainly capable of putting together a good outing here and there. And he just came off a start against Baltimore on the road. Only 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 earned run, and 4 hits. Not bad. But his xFIP did come out to 421 for that game. The game prior at Boston, 571 was his xFIP that it resulted to in 428 the game prior. So he's kind of on a little bit of a skid now. I think this makes it a valuable option to look toward Baltimore money line as opposed to laying it with New York in this, again, difficult situation post-clinching.
All right. Well, very quickly here, Blue Jays hosting the Rays. It'll be Bieber against Hauser. What do you think?
Yeah, I like the Blue Jays on the run line at this one, Adam. Plus 120, a pretty good price. Hauser obviously not the best in numbers, 3.18 ERA, but 4.30 on his xFIP. Bieber hasn't played a lot, but his numbers are looking promising. Give me the Blue Jays to win by 2 or more.
You want to hang another segment? We'll do the NL.
Let's do it, my friend.
We'll be back.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford to end that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week, we're putting. Okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC State's
Devin
undefeated.
Leary still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac. Okay, I can
go
back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Danny Burke hanging out here with us from the Betting News Network. We are looking at what we have in front of us across Major League Baseball tonight. Some very important games. There are a couple that are underway that are not as important, however. The White Sox top 1 continue to bat up 1-0 right now in Washington. Battle of the bad between these two, my God. And the Twins and Phillies, they are scoreless bottom 1. That one is just underway. Now, National League. We had a lot of American League, Danny, in the last segment. Let's talk National League, where Cubs, Padres, they have locked up their spots in the wild card standings. But then you have the Mets in the third position, the Reds just one game back, the Diamondbacks another game behind them. These three teams, only one of them, however, is going to have the opportunity to make the postseason, and all tough series in front of them here, because they're on the road in large part. The Mets at the Marlins, let's start there, where it's Sproat. Is this guy an opener? Sproat on the mound against Sandy Alcantara. New York is a favorite, right around minus 135. What do you think?
So I kind of had the same reaction when I was looking at this matchup, Adam, because again, you and I have been pretty ingrained in the NFL and, other football activities at this point of the year. So I haven't seen too much of Sprout, but his numbers aren't too bad through 3 starts. But again, the caveat is he's only started 3 games, and Alcantara, I mean, certainly far from his best year. I mean, not even close, but he still has those, he still has those capabilities to give you a very quality outing. I could see this being a spoiler opportunity for the Marlins here, right? You're trying to screw over the Mets from getting any advance here in the postseason race that they're in, and you can kind of see that being reflected in the market. I mean, based on the pitching matchup, and I think because of that sentiment, Miami close to about plus 110, plus 115. That's where I would lean a little bit in this game, Adam. Again, it's tough to really rely off of statistics, which I do so often, and a lot of people do, obviously, when betting baseball. So this time of the year, I'm very hesitant with going with official plays, but again, based on the price, and I think there's a little inspiration for Miami is where I would trend toward.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Sproat. 4 innings, 6 innings, 6 innings. So he's not an opener. I apologize to any diehard Mets fans out there. The young man has actually pitched okay, but it's a pretty important game, obviously, for New York. So all right, there's that one. Then again, you look at the Reds, who this is a tough game. As far as I'm concerned. Yeah. It's why Cincinnati is right around plus 150. Not only are you in Milwaukee to face a Brewers team that is very good, but it's also Littell, who's been fine, against Priester, who's been much better on the other side. 13-2 for Milwaukee. Now, it's not literal must win, but it's very important to stay alive here for Cincinnati. Can the Reds pull it off?
I find it difficult to back Cincinnati in this spot, Adam. And again, you'd want to think in this situation they would have that edge. But you look at it from Milwaukee's perspective. They've lost, 3 out of their last 4 games. And I know they have everything wrapped up, but you don't want to go into the postseason just completely saying, screw it, we don't care about this ending stretch, especially when it's coming up against a division foe, and a division foe that's aiming to get into the postseason. And then if you get matched up with them at some point, a lot of familiarity there, and it's absolutely a crapshoot. I mean, you're rolling the dice regardless when you get into the MLB postseason, but especially when it's against opponents that So I think Milwaukee steps up here. You certainly have that pitching advantage, as you mentioned, with Priester. I do think Milwaukee gets it done. To lay minus 165 wouldn't necessarily recommend. So I would look at something with the run line there with the Brewers.
Another dog, and that is Arizona, a team we were talking about during the break. They've been a fun watch, despite being, honestly, kind of the dictionary definition of mediocre. 80-79, just barely above 500. But this team is still alive in the playoff race and at San Diego. The Padres right around minus 150 in some places. You see the minus 136 on your screen. Gallen against Darvish. Honestly, is the move here just going over that 7.5?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Adam. I mean, if you're San Diego, we talk about teams being wrapped up. That's them there with their matchup in the wild card, right? Arizona desperately trying to fight and hang on, but Gallen's numbers are not as great with were. It's a lot of familiarity against his Padres lineup, and same thing for them against you, Darvish. I like your thought process, and I would go over 7.5 if I was doing anything.
Danny Burke is on Twitter at Danny Burke in the number 5. He's part of the Betting News Network. Danny, before we get you out of here, we've been talking a little bit over the course of the week. Aaron Judge versus Cal Raleigh. You can make a compelling MVP case for either one. Who would have your vote?
Oh my goodness. I can't believe you're getting me started on this with just a little bit of time to go. It's Aaron Judge all the way, and don't let someone else tell you otherwise. Statistically speaking, it is not even close. If it's only home runs, yes, congrats, Cal Raleigh. But again, we don't have enough time for this. We could talk about it for a while, but Aaron Judge far and beyond the better player, the more valuable player. What are we even talking about here, Adam? It's Aaron Judge. Come on.
If the Mariners win their division and the Yankees don't, that stuff matters. Danny, thanks, buddy.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford to end that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week,
They're ranked.
Okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC
Is
State's
Devin
undefeated.
Leary still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac.
Like,
okay, I can go back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back. Full hour in front of us here on SportsGrid. Game time decisions. We will get into some college football in a bit. Ryder Cup, maybe some more Major League Baseball. We'll certainly track the scoreboard. Some very important games tonight. But let's turn to the NFL and welcome in our good friend Adam Kaplan from SiriusXM NFL Radio, on Twitter at Kaplan NFL, and a regular here on SportsGrid. He's covered the league, seen it all for the past nearly 30 years. Adam, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, it's been a while since you and I have seen each other. Yeah, good to see you as we enter week 4. Interesting game on Thursday night. It wasn't so well played, and the Seahawks, who I liked, versus a number. They almost choked that thing, but they got the job done. But yeah, this slate, Adam, as we turn our attention to Sunday's games, really fascinating. I mean, who thought, and I know we're going to talk Ravens and Chiefs at some point in the segment, both teams would be 1-2. We thought coming into the season that was going to be the best games of the season. Maybe not so much.
Well, why don't we start with that one? Because even though it's not 3-0 versus 3-0 like Philadelphia and Tampa, and we'll get to that one as well, it's certainly compelling because, like you said, these are two teams that going into the season, a lot of people would have penciled in as being the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Now it's a question, will either of these teams make the playoffs? The Chargers are obviously off to their hot 3-0 start in the AFC West. I don't know if you agree, and I don't know if how you see this game playing out. It's kind of a coin flip, even though Baltimore is favored just inside a field goal there on the road at Arrowhead. To me, and I've been saying this over and over, this is a much, much more important game for Kansas City. And the reason for that is because, I just said it, Chargers 3-0, tough division. You're pretty close, especially if you lose, to already looking and saying, boy, we just got to be a wild card team. Baltimore's division in the AFC North is so bad that the Ravens could get off to a 1-3 start and still run off a whole bunch of wins and win that division going away. So how badly does Kansas City need this, and will the Chiefs win it?
They do, but just so you know, clubs never worry about, oh, well, it's okay if we lose this game. They never talk like that. They don't talk like the media or the fans do. They want this game. They have a history with Kansas City. They have a history with Buffalo. So this is a big game for them. It's a conference game. This does matter. This is Major League Baseball, where it's 162. Who cares? No, this is an important game. Yes, it's early in the season. Now, if you look at who's healthy, it's not close. The Chiefs are the healthier team. They're going to get Xavier Worthy back, their best deep threat wide receiver. Mike Dana is one of the pass rushers won't play. But bottom line is Baltimore's without two of their defensive linemen. Matabuki's out. That's a big one for me. Kid Washington is out on their D line. They haven't got Jair Alexander Adam going at all. It's been weird. He hasn't been on the injury report since week 1. They don't think he's physically ready to play. They're getting torched in the secondary. Now, this happened kind of last year with Zach Orr, the youngest defensive coordinator in the AFC. He's only 33 years old. You might remember as a player. He retired after the 16th season due to a neck injury, and he's been working his way up. And he's doing a decent job. It's just that they've gotten off to this bad start defensively. It's really, for the most part, in the secondary, but you saw what happened with the run defense lately. It's not been as good. So that does concern me. And it's not their offense. Their offense is almost unstoppable. Now, yes, Derrick Henry can fumble the football, but to me, it's going to be hard for Baltimore with these injuries on defense. And they've got a couple, we should mention, of injuries on their offensive line. Kansas City, it's real simple. They've got to get Patrick Mahomes in the passing game going. Talking to the Chiefs this offseason, people know what's going on there. Their goal was, Adam, to move their offensive forward and throw the ball downfield. Well, they haven't been able to do that. Hollywood Brown, they've kind of missed him downfield. He's healthy now. They haven't been able to get him downfield much. Tyquan Thornton's come out of nowhere, giving him a little bit of that. But look, they need Worthy to be that factor. And remember, Rashee Rice, their best possession receiver, is suspended 6 games. So that's been a big factor. If you're wondering why is Patrick Mahomes, really for 2 seasons, Adam, why has he been so tentative? He sometimes tries to do too much rather than taking what's in front of him.
Who ultimately wins this game, do you think? And I'll remind you, I know you know, but anyone out there who may have forgotten, when the Ravens started off 1-2 last year, they responded by throttling the Bills in what a lot of people expected to be an AFC Championship game caliber preview. So what do we get here?
All right, first of all, I did pick the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl, by the way. I'm not giving up that pick. I don't bail after 3 games, but I have the Chiefs in this one. They are the healthier team. I'm interested to see what happens here. Worthy is an X factor. I know he's playing with a dislocated shoulder, which is healed. He might have to wear protection for it. But the bottom line is they need something downfield. Mahomes usually shows up in these games. Sometimes he overachieves in lesser games, but I have no problem with the Ravens. If you and I are putting a line on it, I probably would have it Ravens 1.5 would be my opening number. But it's hard to win in Kansas City. This is a tough game to pick. But I like the Chiefs to win this by a field goal.
We alluded to 3-0 versus 3-0. Something's got to give between Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. And the real story here is Philadelphia is healthy and a 3.5-point favorite. It's moved just outside the field goal. Whereas Tampa Bay has lost Mike Evans, but Chris Godwin is expected back. Emeka Egbuka has been terrific. Cade Otton is someone that Baker Mayfield's relied upon in the past. But this is a Bucs team that, if not for, a few late game survivals, could just as easily be 0-3. So is this the time to lean into Philly?
All right, so let's look at it. So the Eagles, depending on which book you're looking at, they're a 3.5-point favorite. I would have had them at probably -2, but opening it up, we didn't know if Evans would play. He's not. He's going to probably miss a minimum of 2 weeks. He's got a grade 1+ hamstring strain. That for a receiver could be a little bit longer. And by the way, Adam, Mike Evans has had a history since 2014, since he was drafted, of hamstring problems. And he knew it when he grabbed it, that it was not good. So he's out. Jalen McMillan, who probably would have been their 3rd receiver this season, he's on IR with a neck injury. They're not very deep at receiver now. That worries me. On your point about Cade Otton, which is a smart one, Otton usually becomes a bigger factor when either Godwin or Evans can't play. Like, he's a really good player. He's not very athletic. He's physical, and he runs after the catch pretty well. The running game has been horrific, by the way, Adam, so far, just like the Eagles has been very disappointing. It's because the interior of their offensive line has been decimated by injury. The right side is out. They're going to get worse back this week. That means that Barton, who is, by the way, a left tackle in college, is now playing center. He'd been filling in for worse. He'll move back to center. Ben Bredesen is really better, I'm told, at guard and not center. He's going to move back from center to guard. So they're going to be better on the left side. They're going to be better on the offensive line. Look for Irving because of the guys being out in their pass target group. Probably will be used more. I think this is a tight game, but let's face it, Adam. There's a reason why the Eagles have won 19 out of the last 20 games, and that includes the playoffs, and why they're one of the best road teams in the National Football League since Nick Sirianni became head coach in 2021. I know that they've not done well against the Bucs, but remember what happened last year. Week 4, by the way, at 1 p.m. Eastern last year, and they're playing at the same time, same week. this season. Remember what happened last year. No Devontae Smith, no A.J. Brown, and no Lane Johnson. They're all going to play in this game.
Adam, we've got about a minute here. The Chargers at the Giants. Russell Wilson bench. Jackson Dart, the rookie, is starting. As far as I'm concerned, this line couldn't be big enough. I'm not even hesitating to play Chargers minus 6.5. How do you see this game playing out?
I would expect them for the home crown for Dart to get some energy, but you're right. And Jesse Minter, who probably will be a head coach today in the National Football League, his dad Rick's on his staff. Rick Minter was a head coach many years ago at the University of Cincinnati, but I like the Chargers here. Jesse Minter's defense is so hard to figure out. They may not be the most talented defense, but they execute top 5. I like the Chargers, and I agree. I think they win by 10 or more.
Adam Kaplan, SiriusXM NFL Radio, a regular contributor here on SportsGrid. He is on Twitter at Kaplan NFL. Adam, thank you so much. Always enjoy chatting NFL with you. We'll do it again soon.
Thank you.
All right, college when we come back with Joe Lisi.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last
But they
year?
had marquee wins at some point
I don't
last
care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Thanks once again to Adam Kaplan. We are back here, Game Time Decisions. Joe Lisi, who is, of course, a host and analyst here on SportsGrid, also hosts the Bowden Blitz Football Podcast with Terry Bowden. You can get Lisi on Twitter at @GoForThe2. Joe, good to see you, buddy. We're going to get into some of the bigger games that we have in front of us this weekend, but first, college football is underway tonight. I don't know who out there remembers Florida State going 2-10 last year. I sure as hell don't at this point. This team is 3-0 and a pretty good favorite tonight in action right now, early first quarter at Virginia. The number 8 Seminoles sitting at the moment, scoreless, but 6.5-point favorites on the live line. How'd you view this game coming in?
Well, it's amazing. I'm old enough to remember the last time, Florida State went in there against George Welsh and came out with a loss with Bobby Bowden, Terry's father. So you think about that, that's a long time ago in the mid-90s. I will say this, Florida State's offense, Adam, is hitting on all cylinders. They're averaging entering this matchup 363 rushing yards per game. They put up 498 against Kent State last week, 9.2 yards per carry. That travels well. I think they're a little bit better than Chandler Morris and Virginia. I think they pull it out tonight.
I've seen an overwhelming number of people on Arizona State tonight, considering this is just a 2.5-point line. Granted, the game is out west. TCU, the number 24 team in the country, comes in as the dog. This game a little less than 2 hours away. Where do we go here?
I still lean to Arizona State. I mean, and the one loss that they have is in Starkville, SEC team that's, a team in Mississippi State that has a matchup with Tennessee tomorrow. They're 4-0 for the first time since the Mike Leach days. So think about that. But I will just say Arizona State, to me, is the more physical team. They come into this matchup only allowing around 94 rushing yards per game. That was the strength of that team last year, where they held opposing offenses to a $112 on the ground. Last year, they were undefeated at home. It's nothing to take away from Josh Hoover and TCU. They're an explosive offense. I just believe in Arizona State's defense a little bit better, playing at home, and that gutty win in Waco against Baylor where they won it by 3 points. This is a battle-tested team. I think they pull it out. Very close game, but I think they cover the number tonight.
That game has a total of 54.5. You got to go down a touchdown to go to our late night game. It's a little more than 3 hours away at 47.5, the total in this one. Houston at Oregon State. Houston, the road favorite of 13.5, so just inside that key number of 14, the 2 touchdowns. Now, this is one the public is all over. The public very much is invested, if you look at the splits, in Houston to take care of business. And the line has climbed accordingly. What I would wonder, I guess, is has it climbed too much? Are you inclined to take the points with the home team?
I am. From 10.5 to 13.5. I think there's no doubt Houston's the better team with Connor Wegman. And you just look at Willie Fritz, 3-0 this year. Their win total at the start of the year, if I'm not mistaken, was 5.5, juiced heavily to the over at minus 185. So the books expected Houston to be a much improved team, but they're doing it on both sides of the ball. Is Oregon State checked out after a rivalry game where they got the cover against Oregon? I think that's why you're seeing the overreaction. But again, Houston's not explosive like Oregon. I would take the points here. Again, I think Houston might win, but this might be a one-score game, especially going on the road to Corvallis tonight.
Joe, there are 2 massive games this weekend across college football, and unfortunately, they both start at the same damn time, about 24 hours from now. So not even during the day. Nighttime, primetime action. Oregon, the number 6 team, at number 3 Penn State, and we also have number 5 Georgia playing host to number 17 Alabama. Let's start with Penn State first, though. 3.5-point favorite, consensus across the board. Feels like, just sort of listening to some of the commentary out there, and naturally I want your thoughts. The sentiment is, of course, Penn State's going to win this game. Penn State's the better team. The only way Penn State doesn't win this game is if the coach screws it up again. Do you trust Franklin to pull this off?
I've waffled back and forth on this game. When I first saw the line, I said I would take the 3.5 with Oregon. If this is a game I'm not betting, I'm betting the other side, Alabama and Georgia. But I will just say this. You give Penn State the quarterback advantage. You give Oregon the coaching advantage, landing over James Franklin. But this is the lowest spread as Penn State as a home favorite, dating back to 2016 when they played Minnesota, where they laid exactly 3.5, and they won the game in the fourth quarter with Trace McSorley, 29-26. Not an easy game, but I also give the defensive edge slightly to Jim Knowles, right? Jim Knowles shut down. Now, granted, it was with Ohio State's defense, but he shut down that offensive attack led by Dylan Gabriel. I think Gabriel's a much better quarterback than Dante Moore. He needs to show it to me. Again, my heart says Oregon, but if I had to bet this game, I would lay it with Penn State.
All right. Well, I need to know how you are betting this one, Alabama and Georgia, because, look, Joe, people know you here on SportsGrid. You have forgotten more about college football than I will ever know. However, I look at this game and I see that 2.5 with Georgia at home and favored. I don't trust Alabama's coach. I don't like Alabama's quarterback. I don't understand the 2.5 and how you wouldn't bet Georgia.
33-game home winning streak, right? Alabama has won 9 of the last 10, 4 of the last 5 by 11 points per game. But let's just go by the football matchup. Georgia lost to Alabama last year because of Jalen Milroe. Single-handedly, beat them on the ground, beat them through the air with his arm. And Ty Simpson, to me, is not that guy. I will say Georgia has an identity now. Last year, they only rushed for $132 on the ground and only rushed for one game over 200. They're rushing for 209 per game. I like Gunnar Stockton, and I'll just keep going back to this stat. Dating back to 2016, every time Georgia rushes for over 200 yards, they're 51-0 straight up against FCS and FBS opponents. Alabama's defense giving up $138 on the ground. They got abused by Florida State for 240 in the week 1 matchup. I think Georgia rolls.
So forget the 2.5, alt it 6.5, 9.5. Take it outside of some other key numbers.
It's
Joe
possible.
Lisi, once again, he is on Twitter at GoForThe2. He hosts the Bowden Blitz Football Podcast with Terry Bowden, available to you here across the SportsGrid airwaves. Joe, appreciate your time as always. Hopefully it is a profitable weekend betting college football for you.
You too. Anytime. Love the show.
All right, appreciate you. Again, Joe Lisi joining us here on Game Time Decisions. We'll be back. Check in on the baseball scoreboard.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford to end that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week,
They're ranked.
Okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC State's
Is Devin Leary
undefeated.
still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac. Okay, I can go
yeah.
back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Thanks once again to Joe Lisi. Some good college football breakdowns, couple of like-minded guys, which is always fun. Let's take a peek before we are joined by Brady Cannon a little bit to help us break down some Ryder Cup and look ahead to the rest of Week 4 in the NFL. Let's look at the Major League Baseball scoreboard. There are lots of games that are in progress. Not all the important ones, but quite a few of them. Red Sox and Tigers. This is a game that is important to both of these teams as the Tigers chase a division title. The Red Sox chase a wild card berth. Both these teams just hoping to be in the postseason, which as of this very moment, they would be. It's scoreless, bottom one over at Fenway. Now, the White Sox, meaningless game, up 4-1 in Washington against the Nats. That's at the end of 2. Phillies with a 1-0 lead at home against the Twins, bottom 3 and still batting. Yankees, this one's important, obviously. Bottom 1, still batting, up 2-0 at home against the Orioles. The pressure is on the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously, because, again, the Yankees and Toronto are tied atop the AL East. Just to take a look at how the Yankees got their runs, it was a 2-run homer from Giancarlo Stanton. Not Aaron Judge, but Giancarlo Stanton, who is not in the MVP race, at least not this year. The Blue Jays are now down 2-1 at home. They were up 1-0, down 2-1 at home. Top 2 as the Rays have put a couple on the board here against Bieber. And so, again, if the Yankees should win and the Blue Jays lose, these teams will be separated by a game with New York in front atop the AL East. And what is at stake? Of course, both these teams are going to the playoffs, but only one can win the division, and the other one, in all likelihood, is finishing as the top wild card spot and hosting, probably, maybe, if they don't screw it up, the Boston Red Sox, who again are scoreless. The New York Mets, who are fighting for their playoff lives and have been trash of late, are up 2-0 in the bottom of the first inning at Miami. So 2 runs to set the tone there and help out Sproat, who is in his 4th big league start. Very important game, obviously, for the rookie, but the Mets getting 2 in the top of the opening inning. Now, this is bad news for the Cleveland Guardians. Down 4-0 in the first inning right now at home against the Texas Rangers. The Guardians, once again, even with the Tigers atop the AL Central coming into the night. Now, neither of these teams has clinched anything. This isn't Blue Jays Yankees. Neither of these teams has clinched anything yet. The hope, I mean, we know one of them is going to win the Central, but then the hope is that the other one ends up being a wild card playoff team in that 2nd or 3rd seed. However, the Houston Astros are still in the mix, and we haven't talked as much about Houston, and the Astros are not yet underway. They play, at this point, about 2 hours from now at the Angels in LA. Houston is sitting a game back of those teams in the wild card standings and fighting for its playoff life. Also scoreless and underway, the Pirates and the Braves. So once again, we can show you the American League wild card standings just so you know exactly what is going on, because these are some very important, pivotal games here. So you've got the Red Sox right now, 4 games behind the Yankees, who may, again, leapfrog the Blue Jays, so it would be Toronto as the top wild card team. Then the Red Sox as that 2 seed at the moment. The Tigers, who are even atop the Central with the Guardians, as I keep saying. And then the Astros, just the 1 game back. So Houston is not dead, certainly, but getting close. Magic number for Boston just to clinch is 1, whether that is a Red Sox win against the Tigers or an Astros loss in LA against the Angels a little bit later on. That can clinch that spot as well. And then at that point, it comes down to whatever happens, Tigers, Guardians, as all of that unfolds. And of course, in the National League, once again, the Mets are in the 3rd spot currently. It's the only available spot with a game lead on the Reds and a 2-game lead on the Diamondbacks. Those teams will play a little bit later on. The Reds are at the Brewers, starts up in about 40 minutes, just after we sign off, and the Diamondbacks later on at the Padres. That one is just about 2 hours from now. So lots of excitement on the Major League Baseball scoreboard, and it's going to be a fun weekend. I know some people are going to be locked in on college football tomorrow, locked in on NFL on Sunday. Do yourself a favor, scoreboard watch at the very least Major League Baseball, because this is setting up the playoffs, which begin on Tuesday. That's right. October postseason baseball is right around the corner, folks. And it is just, this is one of the most fun times of the year. As we are here in late September, you get to October, and then at that point, you got playoff baseball, you got college football, you got NFL. You're going to have hockey starting up. I know preseason's already underway, but you'll have regular season games. NBA regular season, all of it. October is just, it's just such a good, fun time of the year. Golf, however, has not been much fun if you're an American today. We're going to talk about that with Brady Cannon when we come on back. The Europeans really taking it to the Americans on day 1 of this 3-day tournament. Are the Americans dead? Are they toast? They've flipped from reasonable favorites to heavy dogs already. What can turn it around? Is Scotty Scheffler going to remember out of golf? We'll be back.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford to end that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week, okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC State's undefeated.
Still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac. Okay, I can
yeah.
go back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
We're back on D, and Brady Cannon, my Saturday, well, some used to be Sundays too, but Saturday partner in crime will join us here on the program. We'll get into some Ryder Cup. We'll talk through some NFL over the course of the next couple of segments as well. Brady and I will have you for some in-game live college football game day tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Brady, how are you?
I'm doing great, Adam. Friday night in Las Vegas, the football contest show is done. It'll be up on YouTube shortly. Turned in my college football contests. NFL pick deadlines are due on Saturday. We're revving up for another week. Week 4 in the Ryder Cup. I mean, my goodness. And I did not expect it to go this way. What you were talking about in the last segment, how great October is. Yeah, this baseball has just been nuts as of late. The Ryder Cup, college football, so much going on right now.
Yeah, not enjoying what's happening at the Ryder Cup so far as someone that has a ticket on the American flag. 5.5 to 2.5. Europe is leading after day one. As we know, this is a 3-day tournament, so it is certainly far from over. But the showing, both morning and afternoon, not great at Bethpage in New York for the Americans. So you tell me, I mean, how surprised are you that the heavy dogs coming in are now heavy favorites? As I look at FanDuel, you have Europe at right around minus 190, with the Americans at plus 230. The tie that's come down ever so slightly to plus 950. What are the chances that the Americans can flip this on day 2?
Oh, I still think there's a very good chance. It's surprising to me that anybody got out to a 3-point lead at this point after day one. I was really hoping that the Americans could have gotten it to at least stay at a 2-point lead, but they on Friday down the stretch in the afternoon. It wasn't surprising to me in the morning that Europe got out to a lead with the foursomes, the alternate shot. They are typically always stronger in that format, but I thought the United States might flip it in the afternoon. And when you go to the better ball format where, they would tighten that gap. And in fact, the gap got larger, went from a 2-point margin to a 3-point margin. So that's why, obviously you have Europe as a big favorite here. I don't think it's the worst bet in the world to take plus 2. despite the deficit. We've still got 2 days of golf left, and the final day is singles. You've got 12 independent matches of one another, where the last time we saw things really flip was 2012, the miracle at Medina, and the Europeans came all the way back to win it. So it's not like that is out of the question. Saturday is going to be the big deal for the Americans. They basically need to do today what the Europeans, they need to do tomorrow what the Europeans did today. And you got to believe some of these Europeans are going to cool off for just a second. I mean, Tommy Fleetwood was red hot today. I asked you off air, you think that win at the Tour Championship did anything for his confidence? Boy, he just looked like a man possessed out there. Rory McIlroy was excellent. Despite the crowd getting in his ear, he was able to maintain, a red hot putter. And that's the other thing too. Jon Rahm, God, Jon Rahm looks like a reincarnation of Seve Ballesteros. He is really starting to show that he lives for this Ryder Cup stuff. He was extremely impressive. Very surprised to see Scotty Scheffler kind of no-show today, kind of showed up too little too late. But I think the big thing for the Americans is the putting. When you get to match play like this, you've got to hole some big putts and make some birdies when it's not expected. And they didn't hole anything. Sam Burns, the best putter on their team, didn't make anything. He was at the bottom as far as strokes gained putting. Scotty Scheffler's putter went cold. So the putting has to improve, and you just have to hope that some of these Europeans cool off a little bit.
Europe right now, 5.5 points, needs 14 to retain because remember, Europe is the defending champ. And so if this thing ties, Europe lifts the trophy once again. We have not seen in many years, over a decade, the Europeans win on American soil. It is flip-flopped with the home team winning, annually, not annually, but every 2 years, obviously. U.S. needs 14.5 points, sitting at 2.5 right now. You said, you outlined all the reasons why this is not over, why this could flip on Saturday and all of that. But let me ask you, the two bets that I have on this tournament, one is on the Americans. Okay, it's not dead. Don't tear it up. The other one is on Scotty Scheffler to be the top American scorer. Now, he only had to beat a handful of guys at plus 280. That felt pretty good considering what this guy does to a field of, dozens, over 100 weekly in the PGA Tour season. But right now, live odds, 12-1, Scheffler to finish as the top American scorer, behind Cantlay, Cam Young, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas. Is that ticket dead?
I don't think so. And thankfully, I have a Cam Young who also played lights out today. And I said he could possibly emerge as the American hero. Right now, he is the American hero. He did everything he possibly could have done today to, kind of bring along this American crew. He's kind of the home guy here. He grew up on this course. And a lot of times that brings a ton of pressure. But it was not the case for Cam Young. He maintained his red hot play. But Scotty got in a moment's notice, and there's only 2.5 points on the board for the United States. So, we've got a lot of runway left where, maybe he gets, let's see, he's got 3 more chances. If he can get 3 points, he could be the top American scorer, so no, I don't think that ticket is dead just yet. Cantlay good. I mean, if it wasn't for Cantlay and Cam Young, the Americans might be completely dead at this point. But you got to believe this is going to flip somehow, and some guys are going to come to the forefront. Ben Griffin was basically a disaster today. I mentioned Sam Burns. Sam Burns just does not seem to show up in international competition. I can't remember the last time he was really playing well in a President's Cup or a Ryder Cup. I saw somebody mention on social media that that Keegan Bradley has to go to the 2 big dogs on his team and pair up Scotty with Bryson, which would be really interesting. Bryson, I think, is hard to pair with people because he kind of has a polarizing personality. He wants to go rah-rah with the crowd, and that can be tough for the guy that's walking the fairways next to him. I think his personality is such that it's hard to find that cohesiveness with him, but Scotty Scheffler can handle anything. And with those 2 guys, I mean, that's kind of like Mickelson and Woods walking down the fairway at you, Maybe we'll see Scotty and Bryson as a team, because Bradley's going to have to, dig down deep into his bag of tricks and come up with something, that's, off the radar, because what he's got going so far is not working.
Vegas certainly thinks this whole thing could flip because if you look specifically at day 2 props, some in-tournament betting, Brady, the Americans are the favorites. Minus 110, Europe at plus 170. Where would you go?
Yeah, I would bet on the bounce back here. I have to agree with that. And I think it was an anomaly the second half of today, the afternoon. Like I say, the foursomes, the alternate shot doesn't necessarily surprise me. That's typically where the Europeans thrive. But I thought it was surprising the afternoon today with the better ball, and I would expect this to tighten up. I've said all along, the bets that I made, Adam. I made Europe to win by 1 to 3 points and America to win by 1 to 3 points. I don't care who it is. I think either side is going to win in a close one. And we're still plenty in play for that to happen. So, but if it's going to happen, or if it's going to come close, the United States is going to have to get back in this on Saturday and not try and do that miracle type comeback on Sunday when you're 8 points down or something like that. It's going to have to square up on Saturday. And I tend to agree with the odds makers that we'll see a bit of a shift.
Anything else in tourney that you like right now?
Well, we haven't seen the new pairings come out just yet. So, will there be some matchups that look attractive? I can say by default, I'd look at the Europeans in the alternate shot format. And then maybe you just by default again, take the Americans in the better ball.
Brady Cannon is on Twitter at Las Vegas Golfer. He's not heading anywhere. He mentioned the football contest show. Maybe we can dive into his card, see what NFL plays he think are going to work out come Sunday in week 4. We'll be back.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford and that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week,
They're ranked.
Okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC State's
Devin Leary still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
Sports Grid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac. Okay, I can go back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football. Because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on Sports Grid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Back with Brady Cannon. So week 4 in the NFL, Brady kicked off last night with Seattle's survival of Arizona. Just barely, blew a 14-point lead late in that fourth quarter, but did escape with the game-winning field goal from Jason Sanders. I was on the right side of that one, fortunately, but a little stressful for a bit. I backed Seattle. Now, we have a fascinating card coming up on Sunday. You got 3-0 versus 3-0, Philly against Tampa, a couple of 1-2s, but pretty noteworthy ones. Baltimore at Kansas City. There are 0-3 matchups like the Texans, and the Titans. You got a little bit of all of it in front of us here. You mentioned obviously the football contest show, which will be available to people here on Sports Grid, among other places. And you, for all of these Vegas contests, there's Survivor, there's obviously picking against the spread, your 5 most confident plays, your teammates, all of that. What stands out to you on this week's board going into Sunday?
I think what stands out is it's tough. It was the first week, I think, where we've really run into a roadblock is trying to just come up with 5 picks against the spread. Now, we have not been doing great so far, but we've been doing much better than the majority of the other people in these contests. The consensus plays. I mean, Adam, I wish I could go back in time and just fade the consensus. Right now, if all you were doing, you would be 24, 5, and 1. If all you did was go oppo, what the most popular 5 picks are in Circus Sports Million and the Westgate Super Contest. I mean, it has just been a bloodbath for the majority. And thankfully, we've been doing a little bit better than that. We've gone 2 and 3 every week. Now, out of 5 picks, 2 and 3 doesn't sound great. But again, that's a lot better than what most of the people have been doing. So hopefully we can start to flip that to 3 and 2s and 4 and 1s and stuff like that. But we all kind of agreed on the Chiefs, giving Patrick Mahomes points at home. I think the Ravens were exposed on Monday night. That defensive line is really beaten up, and you give Andy Reid time to game plan against something like that. I like that the dog, as bad as they look, I don't think either one of these teams is great. They certainly aren't living up to expectations, but I'll take the points here with a desperate team in the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's a good spot for the Las Vegas Raiders. They were in the worst of all spots last week. They were on short rest going across the country back east versus a team that had extra rest playing on Thursday. Bad situation for them. And now they come in, and I think the stock is really low. I think you're buying low on the Las Vegas Raiders, whereas the stock is really high on, all of a sudden the Bears are about to win the Super Bowl because they just dismantled the Dallas Cowboys defense. Wow, congratulations. Who hasn't done that recently? So I don't think the Bears are very good. And I think it's very telling that the odds makers are still making Las Vegas a favorite in this game. So the Raiders was one of our plays. And then, of course, this will be a very popular one, Adam. We landed on the Atlanta Falcons. This was one of the later picks that we ended up landing on. And it's going to end up being very popular now because in the contest, the Commanders are a 1-point favorite. And with the Jaden Daniels news, they have now become a 2.5-point underdog. So you have inherent line value there on the stale card. And I imagine that's going to be one of, if not the very most popular plays, the Atlanta Falcons.
Not just Daniels, Terry McLaurin is out as well for Washington.
Yeah, right.
So, and not to mention, and this is, I like to reside on Narrative Street. Atlanta coming off that embarrassing 30-0 loss in Carolina, of all places. There's going to be a lot of hunger for the bounce back. Now, one of my favorite, if I were in this contest, a card, of mine would have featured the Packers blowing doors in Dallas against the Cowboys. Again, revenge narrative. This is the Micah Parsons Bowl in this one. And even if you remove the fact that I think he's going to put Dak Prescott on his butt 7 times or something like that, it's the fact that, man, just strength for strength, weakness versus weakness, all of it, like every advantage basically in this game goes to the Packers. I don't understand how this game is inside a touchdown when it comes to the spread.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Adam. I think Dallas would be a great contrarian play. Now, you're taking a team that's going to play on Sunday Night Football at home, and like yourself, the entire world is basically thinking that they don't have a chance. That's typically a good time to back the dog, a buy low spot. And it's certainly in contest play a great time to be in the minority and contrarian and stuff like that. And you just hold your nose and cross your fingers and hope it works, because if it works, you're going to move up the leaderboard quite a bit. But I have to agree with you that without CeeDee Lamb, he doesn't necessarily move a point spread a whole ton, but I think he is so big to that offense. That offense has really fallen off quite a bit, down with injury. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I joked earlier about Chicago. We know Dallas is one of the very worst defenses in the league. But furthermore, on top of that, it just doesn't look like they have any leadership. There's just no direction on the defensive side of the ball. So as smart as it looks to take Dallas as a play, I don't know if anybody can get there because they just have not shown me that they have anything worthwhile of putting up a fight against a very good Packer team who's also coming off of a surprising loss. And we liked going against the Packers last week because they had this one on and could possibly be looking ahead to this Cowboys matchup. But now they got to get down to business and take care of it here.
Brady, I don't know if you've turned in your card for Circus Survivor yet, but if you have, if you haven't, whatever you're thinking, where are you going with your entries for this weekend's slate?
Well, I can tell you, we are going to strategically avoid the Bills. The Bills are going to be maybe record-breaking popularity support in Circus Survivor contest, better than 2-touchdown favorite. And it looks like a free square, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But if you look at the rest of the schedule moving forward, especially next week looks even more difficult, much more difficult as far as Survivor is concerned. So I believe we're going to save the Bills until next week when they host your Patriots and hopefully stomp them, Adam. But yeah, this week, I think it's a good move to possibly save the Bills because you're going to be dying to have a team that looks like a good play next week.
All right, well, if you want to know who Brady's going with, make sure you tune in for in-game live college football game day. The two of us will be together in about 22 and a half hours. Talk to you then, Brady.
Frank Reich is the head coach. You beat Stanford to end that season to clinch that 10th win, the hottest team in the country. You can't keep them out, Joe.
So now Stanford, because they beat Boston College last week, okay.
Notre Dame's in the top 25 today. They're going to have 10 straight victories. There's no way they stay out. Now, are you telling me that they're going to get tripped up by NC State?
NC State's undefeated.
Still there? I don't even know.
NC State, Dave Torrance there.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Mike McDaniel got a personal victory.
Yeah, he get fired on the tarmac. Okay, I can go
yeah.
back. Yeah.
Well, this has been my take on the Dolphins. I think you'll agree. The more they lose, Tyreek Hill becomes the most important player in football because Tyreek Hill getting traded becomes likelier and likelier.
Yeah.
And Don, he's not going to get traded to the Cleveland Browns.
Correct.
This is a guy who's going to shift Super Bowl markets if he is dealt.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, we are back. Thanks to all of our guests that we had on the program, some very familiar personalities to you here on SportsGrid. Danny Burke on baseball, Adam Kaplan on NFL, Brady Cannon, NFL and Ryder Cup. Go, I mean, seriously, can we have USA, USA? We need some American chants. Turn the Tide tomorrow down by 3 points after one day. You got to be kidding me. Represent New York, would you? And, of course, Joe Lisi talking college football. Want to thank the crew behind the scenes making this possible. Sam, Chris, Matt, Nick, everybody. We appreciate these guys putting in the work all week long. We got a fun weekend of programming ahead on Sports Grid. I'll be with you plenty coming up in about, as I mentioned to Brady, 22 and a half hours, 6:30 Eastern to make that easier for you tomorrow. Brady and I will be together in-game live college football game day on in time for Penn State and Oregon, as well as, of course, Alabama and Georgia. For me, it's Penn State, it's Georgia. Those are the teams that I will be invested in already, quite frankly, invested in. And we'll be tracking all things college football. I'll be here with Joe Ranieri for the late afternoon slate in the NFL, coming at about 4:30 Eastern on Sunday, and we'll take you through that late window. So that'll be a good time as well. And along the way, how can we not at least scoreboard watch baseball a little bit? Again, final weekend of the regular season. Here's what we got going at this moment. Again, Red Sox, magic number to clinch a playoff spot is 1. Tigers, desperate to just make the playoffs, whether it's as a division title winner in the Central or a wild card team in that second or third spot. These teams are playing each other at Fenway Park. It is currently scoreless. Bottom 3, the Red Sox are batting, but nobody on. Meaningless game. White Sox up 6-1 over Sam's Nationals. That is top 5. The Twins down 1-0 in Philadelphia, bottom 5. That game also with no real bearing. The Yankees are trailing the Orioles right now, 3-2. New York had led in this one. The Yankees, a long way to go. It's only going to the bottom of the third. But the Yankees vying for the top spot in the American League East against the Toronto Blue Jays. Only one of these teams can win. Both are going to the playoffs, but only one can take home that division title and skip out, get that bye, miss the wild card round altogether. Again, the Yankees are down 3-2 and coming up to bat. Blue Jays have even the Rays. That is a 2-2 game in the bottom of the third inning. Blue Jays batting, nobody on. So long way to go. Both those games far from decided. The Mets up in Miami. Apologies to Craig Mish. It's 2-0. New York is leading this one, going to the bottom of the third inning. The Mets trying to get that third and final wild card playoff spot in the National League. The Guardians, who again, even with the Tigers, fighting for the Central title or a wild card spot, down 4-2 at home against the Rangers, top 3. That may sound bad. It was worse. It was 4-0 before they even came to bat. 4-2, a little more respectable, trying to climb uphill here. Braves, this has been nothing but offense. The Braves are down 4-1 to Pittsburgh, of all teams, bottom 2 in Atlanta. Coming up in just a bit, we will have the Reds at the Brewers. Important game for Cincinnati, trying to keep its season alive and lock in the wild card. But again, need things to go poorly for the Mets in addition to winning. Astros, same story, but American League wild card race. That game at the Angels coming up in about an hour and a half, hour 40. Diamondbacks still mathematically alive in the National League at San Diego. That's a 9:40 Eastern start. And then the Dodgers, Mariners, Royals, A's, Rockies, Giants will cap the day. Earlier today, we had the Cubs defeat the Cardinals 12-1. So there was some discussion, not a lot of it, earlier on in the program, as to the American League wildcard race. The American League MVP race between Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh. Now, Danny Burke told us he doesn't even understand how this is a debate. Cal Raleigh, by the way, and you see it on your screen, has moved from a considerable dog throughout the majority of the season to now a favorite against Aaron Judge. And you look at some of the numbers, Aaron Judge is leading the American League or all of Major League Baseball in a variety of categories: OBP, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, WAR, runs scored, walks, you name it. I mean, dude's having an unbelievable season again. He's a 2-time winner. He won it last year. Cal Raleigh is leading all of the Major League Baseball at this point with 60 homers, another 60 home run guy. But how often do you see that from a catcher? And 125 RBI to lead the AL. For me, it's Cal Raleigh. It's absolutely Cal Raleigh, because Seattle's going to win this division on the back of Raleigh. Judge had an incredible year. Might not be a division winner. Voter fatigue, that could come into play. I'm Adam Kaufman. Kevin Walsh will be back with you on Monday.